Hello and welcome to the Menopause Unplugged podcast with me, your host, Nikki Oliveira. Today in the studio, we have the pleasure of having Sehar Shahid. Sehar is an obesity specialist pharmacist, and she has her own online pharmacy called the 24/7 Pharmacy. How are you, Sehar? Are you okay today?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you, Nikki, for asking me to be on.
Excellent. No, I'm so happy to have you here. You'll hear, guys, that I have got a sore throat, but we're powering through today. So I will take regular water breaks if I need to, but I'm sure we'll be fine. So, Sehar, for people who don't know you, let's give a little intro to who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So, like Nick said, my name is Sehar Shahid. I have been a pharmacist for 13 years and I've been an obesity specialist pharmacist for the last few years. And it was something that I just kind of fell into because I worked in the online pharmacy space as a consultant over the last kind of 4 or 5 years. So it was a natural kind of progression after having a very typical career in pharmacy as a community pharmacy store manager. And but when I had my kids, I knew that I wanted to do something different, have more control, more flexibility. So I had left that career, and I was really fortunate that I had another kind of side hustle, a health and wellness business that allowed me to leave that career. And then from there, kind of fell into the online pharmacy space just by chance. So set up my consultancy business from there. And then from there, that's where I set up my own online pharmacy called 24-Hour Pharmacy. So, and weight loss is a huge part of the private space, especially online. So for me, it was really important to understand obesity as a chronic condition and to really understand the medication and how it all works. So I specialised in it. So for the last couple of years, I've served like thousands and thousands of patients, like supporting them through their weight loss journey, and it's just been amazing. So I run my own online pharmacy. I'm an independent prescribing pharmacist, which means that I can write private prescriptions for patients. But other than my pharmacy and my consultancy work, I'm also the board director for the National Pharmacy Association. And what that basically means is that I get to kind of really impact the industry on a national level, which is really exciting. So I get to advocate and influence like policy, speak with government and really support other pharmacy owners and other pharmacists as well to help with their work that they're doing. So I absolutely love that.
Oh, it's amazing, Sehar. Like, you're such a busy lady.
I'm doing all of that with 2 little kids as well.
Yeah, it
So,
just shows you.
yeah,
Yeah, we're multitaskers at the best, aren't we?
exactly.
Absolute powerhouses. So that's brilliant. So, Sehar, with obviously GLP-1 medications becoming so popular, can you tell us in simple terms how they work? What they are, how they work in the body?
Yep, sure. So the GLP-1 medication that everyone kind of knows, skinny jabs, weight loss jabs is the terms that we all kind of hear. What they do is they mimic a natural hormone in the body called glucagon-like peptide 1, and that's released after we eat. Now, what this hormone does, it helps regulate our appetite and our blood sugar by sending signals to the brain to say that we're full. It then slows down how quickly the food leaves our stomach, so it delays the gastric emptying, and it also improves insulin response and blood sugar control. So, in simple terms, they make people feel more satisfied when they eat and they make them feel fuller for longer, and they reduce that constant food noise that they have in their brain without relying on that willpower alone. So, that's essentially what they do.
Yeah, excellent. So, why would you say then that GLP-1 medications like the skinny jab, etc., are just becoming more and more popular with women who are in the sort of perimenopause or menopause stage of life?
So usually what I see is that women that are going through perimenopause or menopause, they are literally doing everything right. So they're eating well, they're exercising, they're sleeping well, they're doing all the right things, but the weight is just not shifting. And during obviously perimenopause and menopause, one of the common symptoms is weight gain, as
Mhm.
well with fluctuation of the hormones. So weight gain, particularly around the abdomen. So that's why then GLP-1s and treatment with weight loss injections are becoming more popular, because women are struggling to lose the weight. They're obviously gaining weight because of the perimenopause and menopause symptoms, but then they're really struggling because they're doing all the right things anyway. And these hormonal shifts during perimenopause and menopause, they affect insulin sensitivity, they affect your appetite regulation, they affect fat storage, they affect your energy levels. So they're all the things that women are kind of battling and going against their natural kind of body. So what GLP-1s do, they can address these biological drivers of weight gain, and then especially during that change in that stage of life for women. And I think it's almost like a sense of relief, because women really struggle thinking like, I just can't lose the weight. But
Yeah,
actually, when you understand scientifically what's going on, it's like it's not your fault, because your body is kind of working against you at this stage of life. So it absolutely can be a great tool to support women to lose weight as they go through perimenopause or menopause, if it's clinically appropriate, of course, for that individual.
of course, yeah. And it's important you've said that, Sarah, because it's not the quick fix to drop a dress size. I mean,
Yeah,
this is really for women who really need it. I mean, we're talking here about like people who are obese, right? Like, so, who are, a certain BMI number, indicator numbers, and so on, rather than somebody who's just looking to reduce a little bit of body fat to get into like a pair of jeans or whatever.
exactly. Yeah, no, definitely.
Fabulous. So, so how does menopause change the way then that women respond to like weight loss efforts, and how does GLP-1 fit into that picture?
So it's about understanding what happens in perimenopause and menopause. Okay, so in for women, what happens is our estrogen levels, they start to fall, and that increases insulin resistance. And if someone has got insulin sensitivity or resistance, they're going to struggle to lose weight.
Hmm.
Also, during menopause, your muscle mass will naturally decline. And that's why it's so important that, we talk about strength training, especially for women. Sometimes we think, oh, that's for men to lift weights, but it's actually so important for women, because naturally our muscle mass is starting to decline, and bone density as well starts to decline. So it's really important that we keep on top of that. Stress hormones like cortisol play a huge role. Now, if you think about the average woman, menopause can start from as early as 35 in some women, like, or perimenopause symptoms, so up to like kind of age 50. So that period, in a woman's life is when they are probably in the thick of it with their children, when they are building their careers or businesses. So stress levels are huge.
Yeah.
So that absolutely does not help. Like, when it comes to the stress levels that women are having at that time. And then fat distribution also shifts to the abdomen more so during menopause as well.
Hmm.
So if someone still sticks to the traditional way of dieting and trying to lose weight, i.e. calorie cutting, eating less, these kind of traditional methods can then become quite counterproductive.
Mm.
And that's why then women can feel quite deflated because they're not seeing the results. But actually it's about understanding what's going on in their body and working with your body to support it rather than against it, because the traditional methods are most likely going to be working against it. Like most women that I speak to, they are not eating enough,
Yeah.
because they think, well, if I eat less, I'll lose weight. And yeah, they might lose a little bit of weight in the initial stages of kind of calorie cutting and not eating enough, but actually what happens is that can lead to symptoms becoming a lot worse, and even menopause symptoms becoming a lot worse, like If you're not eating enough, you're going to automatically have a lot less energy. You're probably going to have brain fog. You're going to just feel really moody.
Yeah.
And they're also symptoms of menopause. So it's just kind of like a vicious cycle. So what GLP-1s can do is restore that metabolic balance, okay, to work. And then also then you do the right lifestyle changes as well to work with your body rather than against it. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from your clinical experience then, Sehar, who tends to be a good candidate for GLP-1 medication during menopause and who
Yep.
might not be?
Yeah, okay, so really good question because I think social media just thinks that everyone can just get it, and
Yeah.
absolutely that's not the case. So somebody that would be a good candidate is, first of all, they've got a BMI that's over 30
Mhm.
or 27 or above if they've got at least one weight-related comorbidity such as hypertension, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, pre-diabetes or diabetes, okay? So that's the first thing. So you've got to make sure that, and that's not just even for women that are menopause, that's for anybody that is looking for weight loss treatment. You have to meet the clinical criteria, okay? So having a certain BMI. So somebody else that would be a good candidate is someone that's already tried lifestyle changes and exercise and diet, and they've struggled for a long time, okay? And then I think for me, the ideal candidate is somebody that really understands that this medication is one tool alongside many other tools that you have to absolutely embrace as well. So it's not a quick fix. It's not, a medication that can be used just to drop a dress size or get into that bikini for going on holiday. It is a long-term like treatment for a chronic condition. Okay, so obesity is a chronic condition. So it's about the good candidate that would be eligible for treatment is somebody that understands this as well. Okay, and someone that's also willing to put the work in to prioritize diet, nutrition, and like strength training, because these are fundamentally important tools that have to work alongside the GLP-1s. So somebody that maybe isn't suitable is going to be somebody that's got a lower BMI, so they don't quite meet the BMI threshold.
Yeah.
Somebody that's perhaps got a history of eating disorders as well, so they wouldn't really be suitable. Anyone that's kind of got that mindset of just seeking quick, rapid weight loss for cosmetic reasons, they're definitely not a candidate because they just have the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's also some medical conditions or certain medicines that someone can be on that would make them not eligible for it as well. So therefore, it's really, really important for me as a prescriber to make sure that we screen patients properly and do full consultations, get a full medical history, get a full understanding of exactly where the patient's at, what they've already tried before we make a decision, a clinical decision, if this is the appropriate route. And really it's about me having that person that also wants to work with me to do all the other things, not just rely on the medication.
Yes, absolutely. I kind of I can relate to what you're saying because a lot of people think, yeah, I'll just I'll just do this one thing and then everything will happen. And it's like, no, it's a combination of practices that will get you real results. Um, so with like taking GLP-1 medications in, what are the most common side effects that you see in menopausal women who are using the GLP-1s, and are there any menopause specific considerations to take into account?
Yeah, so if you look at first of all just the common side effects of GLP-1s, and then there's
Yeah.
some of them that kind of overlap with some menopause symptoms. So common side effects that we will patients experience when they're on weight loss treatment is things like nausea, constipation, diarrhea, obviously a reduced appetite because that's what they do,
Mm.
um, like abdominal cramps, like fatigue and things like that. So they're the most kind of common ones. They're mostly gastrointestinal in nature. Okay, so they're the most common ones. They're most commonly seen at the very beginning of treatment and at every dose escalation. So that's why careful follow-up and monitoring is always needed. So it's always about making sure the patients are getting the right support during the, initiation and dose escalations as well. Now, in terms of menopause-specific considerations, obviously there's a higher risk of under eating. So if we know
Yeah.
that GLP-1s reduce appetite, we're treating menopause women who already are probably not eating enough, okay, because they have that mindset, I just eat less, and then, they skip meals and they're so busy, etc. So we've got a higher risk of under eating. So it's about supporting them and helping them understand you absolutely have to eat. If
Yeah.
you are on GLP-1s and you are not eating enough, that is not a good sign, okay? You have to be eating enough. We're not, the goal of the treatment is not for you to just eat the bare minimum. It's about you eating enough, like, that can be sustainable long term as well. So that's really important. Um, Things like constipation can also worsen as well if the diet's not right. So we're not eating enough fiber in our diet, or your hydration is poor. So that's really important. And then some of the overlapping symptoms of perimenopause and menopause that are also some of the common side effects of GLP-1s is things like brain fog, fatigue, low energy, things like that. And again, that's also linked to if you're not staying hydrated and you're not eating enough, of course, then you're going to feel tired and your energy is going to be low.
Sure.
So it's really, really important that we titrate properly, slowly, and we've got that clinical input at every time with the patients to make sure that if they've got obviously menopause symptoms as well, that they're not worsening as
Yeah.
a kind of byproduct of being on GLP-1s.
Absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned there, under eating, Sehar, so that there is obviously a concern about muscle loss and
Yeah.
metabolic slowdown. Metabolic slowdown, I meant.
Yeah.
So how can women use GLP-1 safely while protecting their muscle mass and overall health?
So this is the thing, like, it's a big concern for me with women, because traditionally we've got the mindset that, we don't need to lift weights, we don't need to eat protein, that's for men. But
Yeah.
actually, it's really, really important that women prioritize protein in every single meal. So you want to aim for 20 to 30 grams minimum in every single meal, and it's about helping patients understand how to build a healthy plate, you know. So, and again, as women, we also are like, we have this misconception that carbs are bad. We stay away from carbs, but actually we need carbs for energy as well. So
Yeah.
it's about helping patients understand how to build a healthy, balanced plate. So prioritizing protein in every single meal. You also need to continue to build your muscle. So as we age, as we go into menopause, our muscle mass does decline. We know that, okay? So it's
Yeah.
about continuing to do that strength training. So 2 to 3 times a week is really ideal. And again, it's that misconception that women have: if I lift weights, I'm going to get bulky, but it's
Yeah.
not. You're not. You're going to preserve that muscle mass and keep your muscles healthy. And then also, if you obviously, we want to make sure that you're not having aggressive calorie reduction, because if that happens, then you are going to have rapid weight loss, which will also include muscle loss as well. So it's about thinking about GLP-1s as an appetite regulator, not as like a tool to starve yourself. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
really, really important. So weight loss without muscle protection can also make things worse and create other health complications long term, because then you've got issues around bone density as well, and things like that. So you want to make sure that you don't create more problems. But again, it's going back to using GLP-1s in the right manner alongside a balanced diet, exercise, and a positive mindset. They're the kind of three things that are underpinned, like, alongside GLP-1s, that I always kind of re-emphasize to patients as well.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about your metabolism slowing down, again, most women that will struggle to lose weight is because they have starved themselves, which then has resulted in their metabolism slowing down.
Yeah.
So I will say to women, you have to eat, because if you don't eat, what happens is your body will think, she's not going to feed us for another 7 hours or 8 hours. And then when you do eat, that little bit that you do eat, your body's just going to hold on to it, store it as, energy source, because they think, well, God knows when she's going to feed us again. And that's where we end up having the fat gain and the weight gain. So it's really important that we don't slow down our metabolism just because we're trying to cut our calories. So it's about eating regularly, well-balanced meals all the time, because then you're encouraging your metabolism to work as it should be.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I always say to clients as well, like, little and often, because a lot of people say, oh, I can't eat in the morning, I can't eat breakfast. I'm like, well, just have a little something. It'll just kickstart all your hormones to be like, right, okay, we're getting fed.
Yeah.
Like, let's start this sort of chain, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also understanding what maybe women did like in their teenage or their early 20s and that worked for them to lose weight isn't what's going to work for them in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, because our
Yeah.
hormones and our bodies are changing. So we have to adapt our approach to weight loss and weight maintenance as well. So it's about understanding that, because like, yeah, in your 20s you could absolutely run on like coffee and whatever and not gain any weight and not eat
Yeah.
anything, and then just eat one meal or whatever, and that was fine. But you can't do that. Like, you absolutely need to nourish your body.
100%. Totally with you there, Sehar. So how would you say that GLP-1 medications interact with hormones and HRT or other medications commonly used during menopause?
So I think it's important to understand that GLP-1s, they don't replace hormones and they don't act like HRT. So, women will still probably have to be on HRT if that's what they need for their menopause symptoms. But you can absolutely use HRT safely alongside GLP-1s, and they can support body composition and insulin sensitivity, okay? Whereas your GLP-1s can support appetite and metabolic control. Now, I think a couple of things to think about as well. Now, we know with GLP-1s, there's delayed gastric emptying. So that can affect like how certain medicines are absorbed or kind of processed in the body because of that delayed gastric emptying. So if you find that you are on HRT and you start a GLP-1 and maybe your symptoms of menopause start to, maybe they were controlled before and then you start your GLP-1 and then all of a sudden you're getting some of the symptoms again and you're thinking, what's going on here? It could just be that because of the delayed gastric emptying, your HRT medication is being affected. So it's really important that you go back to your prescriber and you discuss this, because there are other things that we may need to do. We may need to tweak your dose of your HRT just to get it back to that level that is, not affected by your GLP-1s. But
Yeah.
also even switching the formulation. So rather than an oral method, you can have a transdermal like patch, or creams and things like that. So there's other things that you can do, and that also applies to contraception as well. So again, what we recommend for women of childbearing age that are sexually active, if they're on a GLP-1, and it's really important that they take safe precautions around contraception. So if you're on an oral contraception, it's really important that you then use a barrier method on top of that while you're
Yeah.
on GLP-1s, because again, the delayed gastric emptying can affect the absorption of the contraception. So it's that, or you can switch to a non oral method, so such as the coil or implant and things like that as well. So I think these are things that women need to consider when it comes to other medication, and specifically HRT and contraception when they're on GLP-1s.
100%. Yeah, totally agree. So we spoke a little bit there about, the importance of protein and, calorie intake and so on. So tell us a little bit more about the role of like lifestyle, like resistance training and stress management. Like, how does it play alongside the use of GLP-1?
So I would say lifestyle changes is non-negotiable. Like if you're on a GLP-1, okay, it's really, really important, because if you want to have long-term sustainable weight loss and and maintain your weight once you've lost it, the lifestyle part is the key. Okay. And I always say to patients as well, like from day one when they start, it's about start building your daily habits that change your lifestyle from day one. Don't try and do it once you've reached your target weight, because then it's much harder to then still
Yeah.
change your habits when you've maybe, been on treatment for 6 months, 12 months, and then you're trying to change now because all of a sudden you're going to try and come off the medication. So lifestyle, like what does that include? So obviously really good understanding of nutrition and a healthy relationship with food. So you're eating well, you're prioritizing protein, building in strength training. Now I always say to patients as well, like it's not about being at the gym like 5-6 times a week, right? If you can just go 2 to 3 times a week and lift weights, okay, and it doesn't even have to be a full gym workout. You could be lifting and doing strength training at home, like, lifting the shopping bags, like, like things like that, is really, really important. So strength training, really focusing on sleep quality. So, a lot of women, like, if you're not sleeping well, you will struggle to lose weight. Okay,
Hmm.
I've experienced that myself as well when I've gone through periods of my life where I'm really stressed and just not sleeping enough. I'm burning the candle at both ends. Like the bloating's there, the weight's just not shifting.
Yeah,
Now, sleep is like really like so important for us because it's our time for our body to regenerate and repair. So we need about 8 hours of sleep, and so quality sleep as well. So
yeah,
obviously, some people may be absolutely fine on less, but it's also about the quality of sleep as well. So making sure that you're getting a good quality rest every single night. So look at your sleep hygiene. Like, have you got a nighttime routine? Are you switching off screens at least an hour or so before bed? Or, are we on our phones scrolling, which, I'm guilty of it as well. But
yeah,
create like routine. And I always kind of talk about, like, when we're raising children, we are so adamant about a good bedtime routine, and it's to help them have a good sleep, because then they know it's time to wind down. Their body starts to understand, okay, brush your teeth, get you in your pajamas, read a bedtime story. There's a whole routine, isn't there, for children? But so why do we not have that for adults? Like, we absolutely need to have a routine where our body starts to, de-stress and be like, right, it's sleep time. And
yeah,
that will really help. So sleep is really, really important to allow your body to really regenerate and recuperate, instead of you waking up every morning feeling absolutely sluggish. And if you are feeling like that, it's probably because you've not had enough sleep or good quality sleep. So look at your sleep hygiene. Stress management is a big part of lifestyle as well. Now, I completely understand stress will always come and go, like in life, okay? So, especially as women, because we're juggling all the things,
yeah,
but we need to also look at how do we manage that stress? What are we doing to really support our nervous system? So things like meditation, breath work, getting out in nature is really important. And just knowing when you are feeling stressed, what are the signs that you're stressed, and go away and do that. Go and walk in nature for 15 minutes. Just sit in silence and do that breath work, and it really does make a difference. So first thing is being aware that you're stressed and your body's, got high stress levels in that moment. And then have some kind of like things that you do that anchor you into that calm state again. And then hydration and fiber is really important as well. So, we're not drinking enough water. Now, water is so important, okay, to not just with weight loss and helping weight maintenance, but just so many other things it has benefits of. Like, it flushes out toxins in our system, it clears like our skin, it helps with brain fog, and headaches and things like that. So hydration and having fiber as well is really important in your diet, because it will help your bowels do the thing that they're supposed to do, which is digest our food, extract the nutrients, and then remove what we don't need. So I think it's really important about having these kind of fundamental things, these tools in place first and foremost. And then the GLP-1s can enhance the weight loss. So it's not the other way around as most people think. They think, oh, I'll do the GLP-1s, it's the easier way out. And then these things will come later. Like, these
yeah,
are essentially the foundation that you need to have in your life, okay? Whether it's a woman or a man, right? These things apply. Gut health is another huge area of lifestyle that I talk to my patients about, because ultimately your gut is like your second brain, and a lot of our hormones are made in our gut. And if our gut is in a bad place, it's not healthy, it's not like optimized, then our immune system, our hormones, our serotonin that's made in our gut, which is our happy hormone that affects our mood, like all of those things can't really flourish. So it's really important that we look at our gut health, and especially when we're trying to manage our weight as well. So, if we're not processing our food properly because our gut health is really bad, we're probably holding on to a lot of toxins just sitting in our gut. So yeah, a lot of things like that can absolutely be, that's in our control. All these lifestyle things are all in our control. So it's about, let's maximize those things first, and then you'll get, obviously when you bring in your GLP-1s, then you have a better chance of losing the weight, but then also maintaining it, because you built those habits that become a lifestyle change.
yeah, 100%. So Sehar, you kind of touched on there some, misconceptions
Yeah.
about using GLP-1. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So even about myths around GLP-1s, like what do you hear most often and especially on social media?
Oh, there's so much misinformation, isn't there, on social media? So one of the kind of common ones is that I hear is, oh, it's the easy way out. It's a cheat,
Yeah.
right? Now, and I think it's completely wrong because when you understand obesity and you accept that it's a chronic condition, you will know that people who are eligible for this treatment have suffered with chronic obesity, that it's not an easy way out for them.
No.
On average, someone lives with obesity for about 15 years of their life, which is, and that affects so many things physically, mentally, like so many things, okay? So it's not the easy way out. So I think we need to change our mindset around how we look at obesity. Um, and yeah, and really appreciate that it is a chronic condition. Somebody that's got hypertension, like you would never say to them, like, oh, you're taking the easy way out by being on blood pressure medication. Like you would just never say that. But then
No.
we just have a very different attitude when it comes to obesity, and I just don't think that's fair. Um, Another one is the everyone regains the weight. Um, Now, that's not necessarily true if you do it properly. Like if you do all the things that we've talked about, the lifestyle and things like that, then you maintain your weight through those healthy habits and that lifestyle. Now, a lot of reasons why people have this misconception that everyone gains the weight is because the majority of people that are on GLP-1s, they use it as the only tool and they don't do the other things,
Yeah.
such as their lifestyle and their diet and their exercise. So, of course, when you stop the GLP-1s, then the regulation of those hormones will always kind of go back to the dysregulation state that it was in, and
Hmm.
therefore you will eat more and put the weight back on. So I think it's not necessarily true that everyone regains the weight because of the medication or it's a negative impact of the medication. It's always a case of any exercise or any diet plan. If you stop doing it, you go revert back to eating more and an unhealthy lifestyle, of course you're going to gain the weight back as well. Um, Things like other things that I've heard is like, oh, you don't need to eat properly when you're on them. Like, not, it's just like you can just eat like 500 calories or one meal. And actually, that's like some of the things that we've talked about is the quite opposite. You absolutely have to be eating. And if you're not
Yeah.
eating enough, your dose is probably too high. Okay. And yeah, so it's really important that you eat, okay? Because a lot of people think I just don't need to eat or I don't need to eat protein and things like that.
Hmm.
And then another one that I've heard is that, oh, GLP-1s, they ruin your metabolism. And actually, what they do is actually regulate your metabolism and the hormones that are responsible for appetite and satiety. So it's really, really important that patients come to a medically like trained provider for GLP-1s and they go to people that are medically trained that have the knowledge to get the advice because unfortunately on social media everyone's an expert, aren't they?
Yeah.
So everyone who's perhaps on a GLP-1 journey as a patient, they start sharing their journey, which I'm all for that, everyone sharing their experiences. But I think it becomes quite dangerous when they start to give advice on how to use the medication or what to do, what not to do, when it's
Mm.
not necessarily medical advice or the correct advice. So that's where it becomes dangerous. And that's where there's so much misinformation. But for me, it's always about encouraging patients to, use a regulated provider, somebody that's a specialist, somebody that understands the drug, understands the condition, somebody that's going to support you through your side effects, your titration. They're going to follow up with you and they're going to give you education around not just the GLP-1s, but all the other lifestyle stuff as well. Because the amount of patients that I speak to and they don't even have the basic knowledge around nutrition is really worrying. So therefore, it's
Yes.
so important for me as a pharmacist that I don't just teach you about the GLP-1s, but I teach you about the all the other stuff as well, the diet, nutrition, the mindset, the exercise as well.
100%. And I think it's so important, Sarah, that you said about going to a regulated provider because there is so much fake GLP-1 medications,
Yeah.
like people who are obviously giving this stuff out for money just trying to get on a sort of get rich quick scheme sort of thing with using this stuff. And it's so dangerous because they have not got the first clue of the dangers of what it can do to somebody who is not using it correctly.
Yeah.
And you know, that's where we hear all these horror stories, isn't it, in the press?
Yeah. I mean, if someone is trying to sell you GLP-1s without doing a medical consultation, like that's a red flag. Okay. If someone just like DM me and they'll, and just pay this and then you'll get it, red flag. Okay. If you are not doing your checks, like checking that this pharmacy, this provider, they're on a register, a medical register, they're GPHC registered as in terms of a pharmacy or as a pharmacist, or it's, a medical doctor, check the GMC register, a nurse, check all the registers and check that they have the right qualifications. Because the thing is as well, I'm a pharmacist, I've specialised in obesity, but before that I wouldn't have felt comfortable to supply medication unless I'd done the training for it. So
Sure.
just because you are also medically trained doesn't necessarily mean that you're medically trained in this specific field. So again, it's about, going to somebody that understands the condition and, they're going to give you the right support. So that's really, really important. But yeah, I think that's going to lead us on to our last question.
It is, yes. So what would you want every woman to understand or to consider before starting on a GLP-1 medication during menopause?
So I think I totally get it. As women, we have so much pressure on ourselves. We put it on ourselves, and then society puts it on ourselves that we need to look a certain way, be a certain size, and I get all of that. But I think I would want every woman to ask themselves, like, am I actually doing this for health or for cosmetic reasons? Because ultimately it should always be about your health. Being overweight can, reduce your life expectancy. Okay,
Yeah,
so if you have a BMI of over 40, you can reduce your life expectancy by 8 to 10 years, which is significant. So absolutely, I'm all for it to support people to lose weight in a healthy, safe manner. So it's always about your health outcomes, I think. And then, how you feel and how you look will be a byproduct. Focus on the health, okay? I would also say to women that are, thinking about starting GLP-1 that are also in menopause, like, do you understand the importance of muscle mass and really nourishing your body? Because that's really important. Like, I don't want you to have the mindset that let's just lose weight. It's about the long term, effects of the weight loss and how you actually are going to feel by the end of it if you nourish your body well and, you build your muscle as well. The other thing which we've kind of touched on as well, like I want not just every woman that's going through menopause, but anyone considering GLP-1s, please ask yourself, am I being medically assessed? These are high risk prescription only medications. They aren't
yes,
something that you can just buy and that's it and get on with it. Like, you have to be supported, you have to be medically assessed to see if it's clinically appropriate. They interact with other medications. There's contraindications with other conditions as well. So you've got to be medically assessed to see if it's appropriate for you, rather than us being very kind of laid back with GLP-1s, as we kind of seem to have this culture, especially on social media, like everyone's on it, it's fine, I can just get it from my mate, or whatever. So are you being medically assessed rather than being sold to? And that's really
yes,
important. As a prescriber, I refuse prescribing GLP-1s if someone's not eligible for it. Obviously, as a business, like, it makes sense to just say yes to everybody, but absolutely not. Like, for me, it's about ethical and safe prescribing. So that's really important. And then I think just consider what is your long-term health goals, because you may not want to be on a GLP-1 forever, and that's okay. But again, as somebody with chronic obesity, I think it's also being open to the fact that it is a chronic condition. You may have to be on this long term as well. So just consider all of those things in terms of your kind of goals. Now, GLP-1s can be absolutely life-changing. Like, I've seen it with my own patients, like how it's completely transformed their life, their relationships, their confidence, their, physical appearance, their health, but only when they're used responsibly, ethically, and with proper clinical support.
yeah. I couldn't agree more, Sehar. And yes, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. So, for anybody who wants to maybe reach out to you or hear more, how can people find you?
Yep, sure. So my own personal Instagram is Sehar the Pharmacist. So you can follow along there and see what I get up to day. I share a lot of the stuff that I do in the pharmacy. And then we're also on Instagram for our pharmacy page, which is just 24hrpharmacy.co.uk on Instagram. And our website is just www.24hrpharmacy.co.uk. So yeah, please follow along, reach out and engage with our content, because I'm very passionate about the education part, and that's what you'll see a lot of our videos is about education. It's about helping you understand about treatments, conditions, what to look out for, all those kind of things. So I think education is key. So yeah, definitely would love to connect with you all.
Excellent. I will pop all of that in the show notes for you guys, as always. And if you are using a GLP-1 medication and the strength training part is, maybe just not clear to you and you're a bit scared or apprehensive about it, reach out to a PT, a coach, because that's what people like myself specialise in too. So if you are struggling with that area side of things, the exercise, the strength training part, then please also reach out to me. But on that note, we'll leave it here, and thank you again, Sehar, and we'll speak again soon.
No problem. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.